1970s system into a more modern system. That transition is complete, and now it's time to start with the enhancements. And one of the things that really needs to be in there is process tracking. When did the permit come in? Who has it now? What step is it at? And right now we just don't have that data readily available. So the idea is to capture that data and then make it available on our website so that permittees have better insight into the status and where we are in the process. So there are 3 phases here. The first phase in planning, which we're doing now, developing overall plans to reduce the backlog, improve tracking, do work prioritization, look at cost recovery so we can make sure that we're taking in enough money to fund sufficient engineers to get the work done, and then implement these shorter term recommendations. Phase 2 will take place between 2024 and 2027. We're in a hole right now, and it's going to take a little while to dig out of the hole. And in the meantime, while we're in the hole, there are more permits coming in. So we really think it's probably going to be between now and 2027 before we can get to our target throughput and kind of timelines for permitting. And so after 2027, we'll look again, make adjustments as needed. So we're hoping over the next 5 years to reduce the backlog to a maintenance level of less than 5% permits overdue at any time. And I think the key to a lot of that is these improvements in efficiency. So there's a number of things we can do right now. Right now we're entering many permits by hand, so we're working on ways to capture that information up front into the database. As I said before, some changes in rules, some changes in policies to reduce the workload and to streamline the workload. And then hiring some senior staff to serve more as project managers to oversee all the steps of some of these complex facilities where the permit review may involve having to go through multiple parts of the air district. And so it's just somebody to kind of be on top of that and track that consistently over time. So we do expect that additional staffing will be required, and the current budget ask has that, and I'll get to that in a minute. And this tracking we really see as a key part of ensuring that this project, this effort to streamline permitting actually works. And I think having that tracking in place will be helpful to the folks who are waiting for their permits as well, because it'll give them better understanding of who has it, where is it stuck, why is it stuck, all of those kinds of questions. So coming up, there are a few opportunities for engagement. Our board meeting on June 5th, the board will be considering the budget and fees. And the budget includes 5 new engineers, including a principal engineer to focus on organics recovery, landfills, composting, wastewater, and emerging technologies like pyrolysis and gasification. So it might be helpful to participate in that process. The board seems generally supportive, but I know that y'all always want to have a heads up when you have an opportunity to participate. So June 5th might be something to track. Also, the strategic plan, which does include a number of these kinds of projects, will be out for public comment this summer. The strategic plan is really trying to accomplish 3 broad goals. One is to incorporate environmental justice into all of our operations. 2 is to streamline, update, and modernize our operations. And the 3rd is to have more of a cohesive, less stovepiped, kind of a one air district approach to how we do our work. So it's a cultural effort as well. So that concludes my remarks. Thanks again for the opportunity to come see y'all today, and I will hand off to next.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. So our next speaker is Peter Kozelka, who serves as the manager for the MPDS permit section in the Water Division of EPA Region 9. Peter has more than 25 years of experience with various Clean Water Act programs, including water quality standards and monitoring. Great, thanks. Thanks, Lorian. 303D list, TMDLs, my favorite, and MPDS permits. He's also worked collaboratively with colleagues at the state and regional water boards to promote stormwater capture and water reuse to address drought and water resiliency. So, Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
So Peter, you can either come up here or I can stand for slide. You can just point at me and I'll.
Great. Is this now? Is this on? Okay, great. Hi, folks. Peter Kozelka here from EPA Region 9 Water Division. I'm a little closer to the ground level than some of the other speakers today. I'm actually, the permit manager of the section, and therefore maybe don't have quite as far-reaching of an overarching view of what you might be wanting to hear from EPA today. So, for those of you who are new to this or did not attend last year, there are some repeat slides, so I'm glad that I'll be providing information to those of you who haven't seen this before. For those of you who have seen, some of this will be familiar to you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Regarding the administration priorities, environmental justice has been and will continue to be a Biden-Harris administration priority. There are several ways in which that trickles down. There are 2 executive orders that relate to environmental justice specifically. One relates to revitalizing the nation's commitment for EJ for all. And some of this relates to how can environmental justice be implemented into federal programs, and to the extent feasible, encouraging those within state programs who choose to do so. So specifically, there is an Environmental Justice 40 initiative, which essentially says that 40% of the overall benefits of climate change, clean energy, affordable and sustainable housing, clean water, and other investments are to be directed towards underserved communities. Those are certain types of money that's available in order to go in that direction. There are also within EPA 4 particular prongs related to environmental justice. One is strengthening and enforcing environmental justice statutes and civil rights related to overburdened communities. Another is incorporating environmental justice considerations into EPA's own work, including assessing pollution-burdened, underserved, and tribal communities. A third prong of this is improving early and frequent engagement with pollution-burdened communities, and that has been probably the most significant way in which people in our program are trying to reach out, is that often we send out a public notice and we don't get much back, and so we're trying to figure out other ways in order to get these communities engaged. And then there's also the prioritization of benefits to underserved communities for grants. So one of the things that's happened in our world in Region 9 is that we have already had a division that's sort of dedicated to community engagement. That division is about to double in size and staff in order to take some of these Justice 40 initiatives and roll them out further. That includes actual community engagement as well as providing funding in terms of grants. Next slide, please. Climate adaptation is also a significant priority for EPA. This comes in sort of 2 different forms, whether it be climate adaptation or climate mitigation. Each region is required to produce a climate adaptation implementation plan. That's shown on this slide. We have had one since 2022. I suspect that will be updated this year, just in case some things new and different need to be addressed. And some ways in which climate adaptation comes out is in terms of the Inflation Reduction Act, which aims primarily at air sources, but there are some ways in which it can also affect water programs. We have a new point of contact for our Region 9, and that's Yana Quag. That replaces somebody who's retiring this year. Next slide, thanks. So a particular tool that I wanted to point your attention to comes out of the Creating Resilient Water Utilities Unit. This is actually out of our Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water, and they have this tool called Create, Climate Resilience Evaluation and Awareness Tool. And the simple way to describe this tool is that for a particular facility, they will go in and meet with you 3 or 4 times. It's free. They then provide information back to you about what sort of risks you would have for climate change, and then provide various scenarios such as a no action scenario, several different alternatives in terms of action. So there are 9 such facilities in the state of California that have already received this. There's information up there if you wanted to sign up for having this in the future. It also includes or can include cyber resilience and resistance. East Bay Mud and Delta Diablo are the two that are that I'm aware of that are local that have received this. So you may want to reach out to those folks if you wanted to learn about this more. It's always nice to be able to advertise that we have something that you can have and it's free. Next slide. So Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, commonly known as WIFIA loans. Those continue to roll out. It's a nice large number of $6 billion. They go to a variety of sort of facilities, whether it's public, private, or public-private combination. And these can apply to the modernization of drinking water, wastewater, or stormwater infrastructure, as well as non-point source pollution projects, water recycling, and desalination. So there's a contact there to be able to reach to them. And next slide, I just wanted to point out that the WIFIA loans have sort of two categories on the second bullet down there. 49% is for larger projects and up to 80% of an anticipated project. There is some matching involved and all that kind of fun stuff with loans and WIFIA. And I think that might be something that, if it's not WIFIA, it's related to, Clean Water SRF, which Karen Mogus might be talking about later. Next slide. So we also have the continuation of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the money associated with that. Again, not insignificant amounts of money, once in a sort of generational time of approach in order to be able to give out millions of dollars. These numbers are actually 2023. I could have begged hard to get, updated numbers. We just recently got our budget kind of finalized because Congress gave us something that would last through the end of this fiscal year. I suspect generally the numbers are not going to change. It's something like $6 million overall. There may be some adjustments up and down on some of the subcategories. Right now, I think we're at a high water mark